Okay, we're going to take a look at a classic tune called Vastapol or Vestapol by Elizabeth Cotten. And Vastopol is kind of a interesting concept among finger pickers because it generally relates to an open tuning. And the tuning can be in a couple of different keys like D or E flat or E, all open, but the relationship between the intervals of the chord are all the same whether in open E, D, or D flat. So Vastapol or Vestapol is a type of tuning. And if you're interested, here are the relationship between those intervals. Well, let's take for instance open D. The low string is tuned down to D. And this is what we're going to use for the piece, by the way. Low string's tuned down to D, then the fifth string is tuned to A. So we have root, then the fifth of the scale. Then the fourth string is also tuned down to a D note, so the root again. Then the third string, excuse me. Then the third string is tuned to an F sharp, which is the third of the chord. Then the second string is tuned to an A, which is the fifth of the chord. And then the high string is tuned to the root again. If you want to do this in open E, then you use those same interval relationships. Root, fifth, root, third, fifth, root, and that'll be a Vastapol tuning. And I think that slide guitar players probably use this first because any strummed chord is an open chord. Anything just strummed without putting a finger down. So if I fret just one fret, that gives me a whole chord, and I can do that with my slide. Right, so it's a little bit more forgiving, this tuning for slide, and I imagine the finger pickers got a hold of it and found some cool melodies and ways to pick too. All right, so let's run through it and then we'll break it down. Here we go. Okay, let's break this down. Pretty cool song, really fun melody to play. Some cool blues licks in there in the middle too. All right, let's start off here, and we're going to start off with this melody here. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing more on my right hand for this lesson because the left hand's a little bit easier. And we're starting off, and I'm sliding my left hand ring finger on the high string from fret 2 to 4. And so what I do is I start out by hitting the open string first, the open 6th string. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go thumb, middle, right? And the way that I talk about my right hand is thumb, index, middle. That's the fingers we're going to be using, or T1, 2, I often refer to them that way as well. Okay, we start off, and we're going to start off with this lick here. What I'm doing is I'm hitting my bass string with my thumb, then middle, hits that high string and I slide up 2 to 4 with my ring finger. And once I get there to the 4th fret with my ring finger, that's when I'm going to alternate the bass. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Then I'm going to play the open E with my middle finger in my right hand. Alright, so that's the first part of that lick. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer on this melody note here. And if I include that with the bass, I've got bass, then the open string 2, and I'm going to hammer on to 2. Once that hammer falls, I'm going to alternate the bass to string 4. Right, so it looks like this. Right. And I finish off with that melody note. After I've alternated the bass with my thumb, I play the high string again with my middle finger. Right, so real slow, that first measure. And my thumb's just alternating that bass constantly. String 6, string 4, 6 string, 6 string, 4 string, 6 string, 4 string. So I repeat that phrase twice. Now I have this line here. And I'm going to leave that slide intact so it rings out. And what I do is I slide that melody note, so I'm going to start off the phrase by going thumb, thumb, index, and then I hit my bass again and I slide 2 to 4 on the high E string. Once I get to 4, I alternate the bass to with my thumb to string 4, and then I finish off with the open string 3 with my index. So real slow I have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and Now I'm going to do this line here. And what I'm doing is I'm hitting my bass with my thumb, and then I'm hitting this melody note, 2nd fret on the high E. I grab it with my middle finger, then I alternate to string 4 with my thumb, play the open string now, the open high string, right? And then I'm going to walk up 0, 1, all on string 5, and I'm going to grab 1 here with my index. So this second phrase sounds like that. So if I put those two phrases together, I have, right, makes a little more sense. Now we're going to go to our 4 chord, or our G chord, and it looks like this, kind of like exactly like an E7, but in this tuning it's going to be a G chord. And I'm going to kind of Travis pick through this, or Elizabeth pick. And all I'm doing is I'm going thumb on string 5, then thumb 1, string 4 and 3, then string 5, 2, 4, 1. And pretty much my index and my middle finger are camped out during this phrase on string 3 and 2. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3. I'm just doing that phrase there. And notice I've added this note here as part of the G. I forgot to mention that, the 2nd fret on string 2, and I'm grabbing it in my left hand with my ring finger. Right, so thumb, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 1. Then I'm going to go back to this melody, right, which we've already seen. And then again I'm going to do this phrase here, which we've seen. Right, so far we have this 8-measure phrase, real slow. Then I'm going to head back into that 4-chord phrase just like we've already seen. Then again, I'm going to do these phrases, the first 2 measures that we started off with. Okay. Now we have, no, not even a little bit of a variation there. A little bit of a variation. So here, after this phrase, now I'm going to hit string 6 with my thumb, then alternate with my thumb, and I'm going to hit this melody note on string 2. So thumb, thumb 1, and then I'm going to grab this phrase. Right. And that second half is thumb on string 6, open up your B string, and then hammer on, or string 2, hammer on the 2nd fret. Once that hammer falls, alternate the bass, and then hit the high string. So, right, so in context, the last 2 phrases of this section Now I'm going to get into my 5 chord this way. And what I do is I hit string 6 and then thumb 1 on strings 4 and 3. I'm going to walk down 3, 2. And sometimes what I do is I put an open string 3 between those walk down notes. Right? You could do that too. Either way. Or, and I'm using my index and grabbing string 3 for those in-between notes. Right. Okay. So these last 2 measures that we just looked at sound like this in context. Or either way. Now I'm in my 5 chord, and this is kind of like an A7 chord. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing kind of like an upper part of an E chord, or you can think of an E chord like this, and then letting go of my middle finger, but I'm going to use my middle finger on string 4, fret 2 instead of my ring. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing another simple Travis picking pattern here. Thumb, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 1, with my index and my middle camped out on strings 3 and 2, and my thumb just alternating the bass, right? So thumb, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 1. Right. Kind of like we saw with the G chord. Same exact thing in the right hand. Right? Now we're going to hit that melody again. Right, and we've got a little bit of a variation here on the second half, so this is the same. This is a little different. I'm going just open strings, thumb, thumb 1, 1 on the G string, thumb, thumb 1, and then I'm going to do thumb on the low string again, middle finger hits the high string, hammers onto the 2nd fret, my bass hits as soon as that hammer on falls to the 2nd fret, and then I hit my open E. Right, so here's that phrase just looped a bunch of times. Right. Okay, now we finish off with just open strings here, and I'm just going thumb, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 1. Middle and index camped out on strings 3 and 2. Thumb, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 1. Right, so from the walk down, those last 4 measures, and I'll pick up into it from the measure before, sound like this, real slow. Then I repeat those 16 bars over again. I didn't do it in the example just to save time. So here's those 16 bars real slow. Let's practice it together. 3, 4. Walking down. Okay. Cool. Now we're getting into some blues licks. And what I'm doing here is I'm up here at the 8th fret with my middle finger on string 2.